So 3,000 Years of Longing by, is it George Miller? It is, isn't
George
it? Yeah,
Miller,
George
yeah.
Miller, who we know as obviously the director of Mad Max movies.
Yeah.
And he's done a lot, it's quite eclectic though. He's done quite a few interesting things. Beautiful trailer for this, so I was quite keen to watch this. I'm not a huge Idris Elba fan. I think he's fine. I do like Tilda Swinton. She's always interesting. She always does interesting things.
Yeah.
And the plot synopsis is she's a lonely scholar. She's on a trip to Istanbul, and she discovers a Djinn, which, if people didn't know, is like another, the traditional name for a genie, who offers her 3 wishes. So you've got, that standard Aladdin style setup, but it's a sort of lonely scholar, and I like the structure of this, where it's her with the genie in a hotel room. So you've got these little bits of them sitting there talking to each other on a bed in dressing gowns, and then you keep flashing back to some of the stories of the Djinn's recounting about
his life,
his previous
Yeah.
owners and things like that. So that structure I really, really liked, as long as that structure stuck with it. They kind of changed the structure a little bit near the end, and the last 20 minutes, half an hour, it kind of changes the structure when she goes back to London. And I felt like my interest really started to wane, because I really liked all the stuff where the Djinn was recounting all the things that happened to him.
Yeah, I love that as well. So
great use of sort of colours and just textures. A lot of it, I guess, is CGI, and so it's not going for realism. It's going for like a fantastical fairy tale sort of thing. But it really popped. I think it looked great. Really nice looking.
So right at the start, you see Tilda Swinton with she got ginger orange hair, and there's a scene with her coming off the plane, and it kind of camera pulls up, and it's her walking through a load of people at the airport lounge, and everyone else has got like a grey suit or a black or a dark suit on, and there's just her, red hair with a red jacket, and it just popped so much. And it's a very bright, colourful film. I really like the fact that she's a book editor, isn't she, or a proofreader. And when Idris Elba comes out, she sort of says to him, "Nah, I know how this goes. You give me 3 wishes, and I get tricked somehow into it always ends up being worse off, don't you, when you get these wishes?"
Yeah, that's clever. It's good having a character like that, isn't it? Because she's
clever,
sort of onto it all. So, she knows about the deal, because we're watching and thinking, well, we've seen Aladdin, we know what genies do. So having a character onto that as well, I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, she was very, very intelligent. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Robbie. It was really beautifully filmed, because I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to start, and then he says, "Right, my first owner, I was a Djinn living with the Queen of Sheba, is it?" And it tells a story about how she was wooed by who was the guy that wooed her now? He's really famous now. I forget his name now, and then it kind of goes off into this, I would almost say Guillermo del Toro style, because you think the Djinn is recounting this story, but it's done in like this fantasy Sinbad style, and you think,
and there's other fantastical characters, isn't there? So there's other characters with magic abilities and things like that are in his stories. It's not like he's the only magic guy. It's like there's lots of magic characters in the past as well.
Were they, or was that just his story, or was he living in a world of magic?
Yes, you could interpret it that way. Yeah,
both ways, couldn't you?
Yeah, because you could say, well, did she even see him at all? Or was the whole film in her head? But I don't think it was really trying to get you to think like that, really.
I don't think so. And so what I really like is that it kind of just starts off, and she's quite savvy, isn't she? She's like, no, I'm not falling for this. And then as he talks to her across these stories, and it's about him trying to be free, really, isn't he? And he talks about, imagine living in a bottle for like 3,000 years, 2,000 years. He's in this bottle, isn't he? Going mad, and he talks about the life he's led, the people he's met, and all these different things. And she kind of becomes enchanted by it. Not when I say enchanted, I mean she falls in love with the idea, doesn't she? Because she's quite a closed-off person. She's like,
because I think there's good chemistry of them. This idea of them becoming like companions and sort of partners.
Yeah,
it doesn't really work in terms of, like, I didn't really feel like she was falling in love with him. So, there's not like necessarily a sexual chemistry between them, but it feels like they're almost like
intellectual friends, like.
Yeah, and also they're intellectual equals, but then also it feels like it's what they see in the other person is, someone that actually, the only other person that really understands how I feel about this complete loneliness and disconnect with people around me, which is what she feels. And so they see that in each other, and so they realise they'd make quite sort of good companions, wouldn't they?
Yeah, it was very clever. I love the stories that they did. I quite liked the way they, in a way, kind of did this thing where the majority of the story was kind of like this old-fashioned castles and magic users and swords and sandals, as we mentioned before. But of course now she's in the modern age, so he's looking at TVs. They go to London and there's just like thousands and thousands of like signals, mobile phone signals, and he's a being of electromagnetic light, isn't he? And it's about how it all sort of goes together. I felt like there's more in the background I was missing, because right at the very, very start, she gets off this plane, and this very small, strange-looking guy comes up to her and tries to get her. And
she sees a few characters that are in other stories, doesn't she?
Yeah. And you think, what am I seeing here? Is this more of a fantasy story? And like you say, it was all in her mind, or was it there and it's just little Easter eggs? Because it starts off with, she sees this very tall guy in like white robes and a white turban, doesn't she? And then throughout the story you see this guy dipped in. Rob, I've got to say, I absolutely love this film. I thought it was really good. It was not only the pure fantasy side of it, but also, like you say, there are some people, like, so she was obviously hurt in love in maybe her younger days, and she was a very closed off person, wasn't she, who felt like she could never love again. And again, you say whether sexually or whether intellectually, but again, he was good for her and she was good for him. And of course, with all these stories, it's about the Djinn wanting to be free, isn't it? And she's quite flippant about it all to start off with, because she's like, oh, you know, wish number one, I wish to have a cup of coffee. Wish number two, I wish to have one of these sweets. And she was very flippant. And he was like, no, you've got to have what your heart desires. And she says, I don't want anything. But that's because she said closed off.
Yeah, I think both actors, I think, are on top form. I think Idris Elba's really full on for his, you know, A-lister star, movie star presence. I think is really good, and it's not, even though it's effects heavy, it's really subtle what they did with him, with like just a bit of colouring on his hands and with his ears, and stuff like that.
And his feet.
So that was good. So it's not like he's trying to be Robin Williams in, you know, Aladdin and stuff like that. The only thing I felt with it is that it talks a lot about stories and myths and fables and the meanings of stories and how important messages become stories and they're passed along. And I felt a lot of the stories, even though it held my attention, when it ended, I just thought, okay, so some of those stories that it was telling you, was there an actual point to any of those?
I think there probably was, but
I felt like it wasn't clear. And then the actual ending, the whole film itself, I just thought, okay, what's that? So you're doing a film where you're talking about the power of stories and telling all these little stories. Well, those stories need to be a bit better, I think. Then, so I just felt I felt like there's definitely something missing there. I didn't feel like it ended. I didn't feel satisfied when it ended. I was enjoying the ride, but when it ended, I just felt like there's a little bit something missing.
A little bit left wanting. So for me, I'd watched a couple of. So I watched the film Amsterdam starring Christian Bale, which wasn't great. I don't think we're really going to talk about it in the podcast, but it was a very bland colour palette. I watched this the night before. Not really a great film. It was okay, a bit dull, a bit boring. And then I just started watching another one of our Indian films, and that is set in the 1930s as well, and that's quite sort of dark subject matter. So then to see Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba and this colourful, bright, light, joyful palette with some nice, clever stories, it got me just right. I absolutely loved it. I actually want to watch it again. I really, really enjoyed this. I'd highly recommend this. I thought it was something a bit different. It was kind of a play on some stories that you think you know, and other ones that you don't know. There's a kind of definitely a message in there. There was a woman that owned the genie's bottle first, and she was as clever as Da Vinci, wasn't she? And it was commenting that the fact she was a woman, that she wasn't allowed to. The storylines in it, about the girl who just wanted more knowledge. It was really interesting. I just felt like it
it didn't have those stories in the flashbacks. They didn't have a clever ending. That's like, oh, I see, they're like a twist or a message or anything. They just wandered along, but they never really weren't able just to go anywhere. No. But like I say, I enjoyed the ride.
I enjoyed it a lot. Go on, Rob. How many Idris Elba 6-packs do you want to give this out of 10?
It's another 8 for me. I mean, I've been very same in the last couple of episodes. The last few films we've watched have been 8. Well, not Strange World, that was a 5, but Avatar 2, 8, 3,000 Years of Longing, 8, Wonderful Life, Glass Onion on the previous episodes. All that at 10, all just good. I felt like I've got a run here of good, solid films.
I mean, 8's good.
Nothing disastrous. All films are worth a watch. If you've got any peak of interest in seeing this, or you like the sound of it, or you like the trailer, then it's definitely worth a watch. I imagine most people have never even heard of it. I think it kind of sunk without a trace a little bit, really, this film, unfortunately.
I really enjoyed this, and I don't know if it's because I do like Tilda Swinton, and she's doing that sort of Yorkshire accent again, that she had in Snowpiercer. I like Idris Elba a lot. I like George Miller. He got me right and good in the not in the feels, but he got me right good in the story feels. Really I'm going to give it a 9. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was definitely what I needed after some quite dark 1930s pre-war subject matter that I've been watching before.
If you're interested in watching 3,000 Years Along, you need to watch 2 very brown, dull films beforehand.
Pre-war depressing films to start off with, and then that might get you more interested in it. No, really good, fabulous film. I love it.
Yeah, watch Schindler's List before you watch it.
Oh yeah, can you imagine?
If you've enjoyed watching this video, please click subscribe.